This is your place for all things Grand Rapids Griffins and all things Toledo Walleye. This is the Hockeytown West Podcast with your host, Brandon Cook and Nick Harrington.
Welcome back to the Hockeytown West Podcast, your source for everything Grand Rapids Griffins and Toledo Walleye hockey. I am one of your hosts, Brandon.
And I'm Nick.
And I'm Travis.
Travis is on a Griffins episode. This is awesome. But not only is it a Griffins episode, it's still a Walleye episode a little bit. And boys, it's episode 100 of the show. Not in my wildest dreams when we started this did I ever think we'd make it this far. And look, here we are.
Yeah, I don't know how the heck you put up with me for 100 episodes or the listeners.
I came in late, so we is more YouTube, but yeah, I couldn't have imagined being a part of this even around Christmas.
Well, you listened to some of the episodes.
Yeah. You were kind of there. You were in the background for a good minute, and we had to bring you into the spotlight here, especially when it came to the Walleye weekly episodes. You were so crucial with that, and yeah, this whole thing, it's been a ride. I never thought, even when we started, that we'd ever interview a player. I never thought we'd get to that point, and now we've done several. We still have several in the chamber ready to go to for you fans. And then this episode, we got to sit down with the head coach of the Griffins, former head coach of the Walleye. Got to sit down with Dan Watson, talk hockey with him, and I never thought we'd be able to do that. It's wild to me that it still doesn't feel like we did it. We just wrapped up. This is the intro for it, but it's still just wild to me.
Yeah, it's something that I was been pushing for when we were at episode 80 or 90. I was like, all right, for 100, we got to do something big. We got to have Waddy on, and it took a lot of strategic pacing of episodes, which is why Brandon says we have a few in the chamber to go, because we wanted to make this one special, because we have, this caters to both fan bases. It's Toledo and then the Griffins listeners. So and for us, just personally, we ran into Waddy. We ran into him at Kalamazoo when Toledo was over, and we didn't say anything at that time. So it was just kind of cool. It was exciting to be able to actually get Waddy on and be able to talk with him and kind of ask some of the questions that everybody else kind of had on their mind as well, of about the season and players and things like that. So crazy. I'm excited, and I'm ready for our bigger plans for the season.
Yeah, you better not blow him off like you did Hawkins. Otherwise, you're gonna have two people coming after you.
That's directed at Nick, not me.
I will not look. I will definitely be talking with Waddy anytime I get a chance to. He is very secret. He is kind of private though. Anytime the team does events, he's he's always in the background, or he's always rushing off to something. I don't know.
I wouldn't say private. I'd say he's very strategic in the way he speaks to anyone that's considered media, or the way some people ask questions. He's very strategic, and I always appreciate that about him, because one, it's just well calculated and well thought, and you can just tell he's an intelligent person. That's a great thing to have behind the bench in Grand Rapids. But when you do get him talking, I feel like the fans will enjoy this interview. When you do get him talking, you give him an inch, he runs a mile, man. He'll just tell you his true feelings about the game, and you can tell that this is a guy that doesn't stop watching hockey, except when he watches soccer. But he's still thinking about hockey when he's watching soccer. That's the crazy part.
Just kind of what most people do when they watch soccer. I'm just kidding. I was able to watch the Euro Cup, and I was able to watch the Copa America. And I enjoy watching soccer. I grew up playing, so.
Not me.
Yeah.
Just wanted to get some laughs there.
That's fine, Trav. It's not everyone's cup of tea. But outside of just talking to Dan Watson, I think, we just owe a thank you to everyone. This is, like we said, this is beyond our wildest dreams, and this is still very small. We know it. We're a minor league hockey podcast. We're very small on the radar of hockey podcasts, but the folks that we talk to, they always make us feel more special than we probably are, and maybe inflate our heads a little bigger than they are. But at the same time, we wouldn't be where we are without any of you guys that are tuning in, listening to this, giving us the feedback and giving us advice too. Who do you want to hear from and all that stuff? We've asked that several times, and we hope we've delivered, and we'll continue to do our best to deliver. And like Nick said, we have some crazy fun stuff hopefully coming in this next season with the Grand Rapids Griffins and the Toledo Walleye. So we'll have tons to share with you guys, and hopefully give you guys just a little bit more insight to the way things go up here.
I feel special all the time. My mom says I'm special.
You are. You're very special, Nick.
Yeah, it's just crazy when you're walking around the Huntington Center, and I mean, we were sitting in our seats, and somebody comes up and says, "Hey, you guys are the podcast guys," and I'm like, "Oh my god, bro! Like, it's like a celebrity moment."
Yeah, we don't do this for that. We do this because we love the game. Like, let's just get that out there. We're not looking for that status. We're not seeking to be important in this organization, but at the same time, we put this together, Nick and I, originally just because we love the game. We were already talking about it enough, and we said, let's put a microphone in front of us and share our thoughts and opinions. Some people might agree with them, some people might disagree with them, and some people might think it's fun. And like we said, it's blown away our expectations, and it's just pushing us to do more and more and get more creative and challenging us. None of us have media experience. None of us have video experience. None of us had any of that going into this. And trust me, you can tell from the first episode, if you ever go back and listen, it was recorded on one microphone in my bedroom at my house between Nick and myself. And we had no game plan. And look where we come now. We still don't have a game plan half the time, but we make it through it. But for real, everybody, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I still don't have experience, so I don't know what Brandon's talking about over there.
Oh, no, we still don't. This is all self-taught. We're learning along the way. You should see us try to make Instagram reels. It's hilarious. One day, maybe some of those will make light. Who knows? But yeah, for real. Thank you to everyone that's tuned in and supported the show, and especially our close friends and, Griffins Media that we've met through this time. Andrew Rinaldi, Elaine Shercliffe, a buddy of mine, Tyler Kuehl. Those guys have helped us so much and given us good advice along the way. And, we continue to make more friends as we go along. Brian Fisher with Locked On, and, how do we forget Andrew Schreidel with the Grand Rapids Griffins? He's been instrumental in us lining up a lot of things and helping us out. So thank you to all those guys. And we look forward to seeing them in the upcoming season here. We're super excited about that and for the growth that we're going to have.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. I can't wait to see where the next year takes us.
It's going to be so much fun. Now, for the Griffins fans that don't turn into the Walleye Weekly episodes, we won't judge you, I know. But Travis is usually on these shows with the Walleye stuff to give us updates. And before we head to Dan, there's actually been some Walleye updates. Travis, we've got 5 signed guys so far for the team heading into this next season, and we've kept the core together. So give us the quick rundown. Who is signed by the Walleye to be ready to go for this upcoming season? We know the first guy. It's an obvious one.
Yeah, Brandon Hawkins, obviously going to be back, along with Trenton Bliss, Sam Craggs, Brandon Cruz, and Conlon Keenan. The big thing to note there is your 4 alternates from last year, all going to be returning, as well as your top 4 scoring players for points, goals, and assists. They're all going to be back. So offensively, to know you're going to have those guys back, that's huge. But still a long way to go. A lot of unknowns. There's a lot of possibilities with guys that are up with Grand Rapids that could be in Toledo again, or new faces in Grand Rapids that could be in Toledo. So be interesting to see how Pat and the guys fill in the blanks and generate this new roster for this year. Obviously, we know there's going to be a lot of turnover, been a lot of guys leaving, but just exciting to know that, the core wanted to come back and be a part of it again. And, there's unfinished business for them 4, now 5.
Yeah, that really settles that argument there is do they people be like, oh, do they want to win? Yeah, they do. These guys are going to continue to come back until they pull this thing off. And you can tell that that's the message that's being sent with those guys signing first and being the core that are here. And, you'll hear when we talk to Dan Watson here in a second that he seems pretty confident that the Walleye are going to be right back where they were the year before, and they're going to go do a special thing again. So it's exciting to see.
And that's kind of normal for the roster turnover, right, Travis? For people that don't tune in regularly with us.
Yeah, generally, there a couple of years ago they brought back almost a dozen guys, and it was just holy cow, we have almost the same roster. But generally speaking, you're going to lose a lot of players. It's just how it goes. What I'm honestly the most excited to see is the possibilities with GR to Toledo. That's, you can say that every year, but there's some guys that I have possibly thought would be good fits. So we'll see if that happens. But then there's also the guys that they still got to go sign with ECHL contracts. I thought Bliss would earn an AHL contract somewhere, but he chose to stay with Toledo. So it just shows the city and what it means to play in the city.
Yeah. you can tell he wants to come back and wants to do some damage. And I was super happy to see him sign. Like you said, I thought he could have gotten an AHL deal, and I thought he might have been a guy that ended up leaving too. But it is good to see him stay. And of course, Brandon Hawkins was the first guy to sign. First day that they were able to announce him, of course. Like that's just typical, right?
Signed for next year too. It's just tucked in the bottom cabinet of the GM's desk,
Yeah, they just whip it out every year and go, all right, here you go, submit this. It's done. I love it.
Stamp it with the date.
Yep. Oh, good stuff. All right, boys, I think that's enough of an intro for us. Let's send it over to our sponsors first. And then when we come back from that, we will have Dan Watson to talk all about this past season and what the upcoming season might look like. So, Nick, go read the ad.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. This topic hits close to me. Life can throw some pretty heavy stuff our way, whether it's a tough situation at work or challenges in our relationships. We all have moments where we feel overwhelmed. Many people are dealing with their own struggles, just like us. When the going gets tough, therapy can be a powerful tool to help navigate these challenges and focus on what truly matters, our own well-being and happiness. I found therapy to be incredibly beneficial in my life, especially during tough times. It's a space where I've learned how to manage stress, set healthy boundaries, and develop positive coping skills. Whether or not you've experienced major trauma, anxiety, or depression, therapy can empower you to be the best version of yourself and help you tackle whatever life throws your way. If you're thinking about starting therapy, BetterHelp is a fantastic option to consider. It's completely online, making it super convenient and flexible to fit into your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire and they'll match you with a licensed therapist who can help you with your specific needs. And if you ever need to switch therapists, you can do so at any time at no additional cost. Stop struggling alone and start focusing on healing with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN. Bet the action on the ice with DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, we're in the offseason for hockey, and Brandon and I are tuning in for the Euro Cup, where we have England versus Spain for the championship. England's got a plus 235. Download the app now and use code THPN. New customers can get $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on hockey. That's code THPN only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. The crown is yours. Problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467369. In Connecticut, help and go for problem gambling, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Will Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. cdkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
And welcome back. Guys, we're celebrating our 100th episode of the show here. What a way to celebrate it. Today, we are joined by a guy who spent the last 15 seasons in the Red Wings organization. He's the winningest head coach in Toledo Walleye history, fresh off his first year as an AHL head coach. Please welcome to the show, head coach of the Grand Rapids Griffins, Dan Watson. Dan, thank you for joining. And there's only one way to start this off. We got to ask a question right off the bat. Who's the starting goalie for game one this season?
Well, that's a great question. That's a great question.
I'm totally kidding.
I've got my vote already, but we got to see how training camp goes.
Yeah, I had to ask that one after how many times it was asked left and right all season long this last season. But the real first question is, how's the off season been treating you and your family?
Oh, it's been good. It's a little bit different of an off season. You're as an American League coach, you're focused more on the hockey side of it, video projects, checking in with staff since we aren't in the same city. But the phone's not ringing off the hook. It's not agents. It's not players. Recruiting. It's done. It's done. Last season, there was a little bit when the transition between myself and Pat Mickish. Some agents and players are still calling, but this year it's been a quiet phone, a real quiet one. So that's been the change, but it's been a nice change.
Nice.
Actually gets to enjoy his summer.
That's
right.
It's a little bit of a shorter one since from last year, but I was listening to Glass and Out podcast that just published a couple of days ago. It said that you were a big soccer guy. Brandon and I, we both grew up playing soccer, and I think that's kind of pulled us towards hockey a little bit as well. And you like to pull some things out of, like, while you're watching. Were you able to watch the Copa or the Euro Cup over the weekend?
Yeah, I watched a bunch of the games, to be honest with you. Bits and pieces of a bunch. Obviously, Team Canada was involved and watched some of those games, watched the finals. It's just sport very similar to hockey in terms of all the support that you see, the passing, the movement, and I like that. I like that side of it and just trying to figure things out and, the different types of systems they deploy. it's a unique sport in that you've got all these guys working together on this field, very similar to hockey, where it's 5 guys plus your goalie, so 6 guys out there trying to work towards that common goal. And you can see the systems in place. So it's always fun to try to steal and try to implement some things from other sports.
Yeah, that was a wild couple finals there for those games too. They were really fun to watch, and I love that soccer's fully taking off in America. Like, it's such a fun sport, and the growth over the past few years has been incredible.
Look at the fanfare. Look at the stadiums are packed. People are chanting. The atmosphere is unbelievable, and you get a full arena. That's exactly what it's like. A lot of times, just that buzz is in the air, and you can feel it during both the Copa and the Europe Cup.
It kind of feels like Toledo, when we've been able to visit Toledo and watch those fans and be a part of that. And we're hoping that we can someday get that over here to Grand Rapids, with the Griffins.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of those late season games, those Saturday nights, and you had 10,000 people in there. That's the buzz. But you have to build it. And you certainly have to build it. I think as a group last year, we did a good job of that. A lot of winning Wednesdays. I know people really enjoy those. And some of the things that happen Friday night, $2 beers, things like that. So our front office, they do a great job of promoting us, trying to get people in the building as much as possible. It's an unbelievable arena to come and watch a game. So hopefully we can just continue to build on our attendance.
I'd love to one day build a supporter section like you have in soccer when it comes to hockey in Grand Rapids. I think that'd be so much fun. Maybe one day we can get there. Hopefully we can be the guys that champion that. But you got your first season under your belt here in Grand Rapids, and you started it off with having to make an incredibly tough decision, replacing Brian Lashoff with a new team captain, and you went with Josiah Didier. What was the process for you, and what led to Josiah?
Well, you know what? It was a long process. We didn't name one right away. We went through the first couple weekends without one. We watch as a staff. We watched very closely of the guys that we thought could wear the C every single day, how they were with everyone, whether it's arena staff, front office staff, their teammates, anyone that walked by them. We want to make sure that the team cap, it's something I take very seriously. We did have some other candidates for sure, and I'm sure they would have done a great job wearing the C as well. But I think, Josiah has been a captain already at the American League level with some really good teams. And everyone I talked to said he would be the next captain in Grand Rapids. It was very interesting not knowing our nucleus of players coming back. But they said that's just how special he is in that role. And I thought he did a great job. And there's still growth and room for improvement in terms of leadership like myself. He's going to learn and get better from last year in terms of being a team captain. And, I like what he did for our group last year. At some points in times, we needed him to just go in the room and be who he was. There's other times he needed to be harder. There's other times he needed to just relax everybody, calm things down. So he had a good feel for it, and that's what we needed last year.
Yeah, he impressed us a lot when he went to this season. We didn't know much about him, and then watching what he was able to do out on the ice, you could clearly see what kind of a leader he was out there.
Yeah, you know what? He blocks shots. He does all the dirty work that a lot of guys don't want to do. He's physical. He's very consistent in his play. He's consistent off the ice with what he does in the weight room, how he maintains his body. He's a complete pro, and with a young team that we had last year and young prospects, he was a guy that they needed to follow, and they did. And I think it certainly helped these young guys.
I would agree.
Yeah. So first, in our eyes, this season was a success, even though we didn't win it all. But everybody talks about the turnaround on Christmas. And me and Brandon had kind of pegged that as like our turnaround time with you guys bringing in brand new staff. You guys are bringing in brand new players, trying to get a new system in together as well. We talked with Amadeus a couple weeks ago, and he said that a big thing for him was that scavenger hunt that you guys did in Texas really brought the guys together. What did you see during that time, and how did you draw up that plan for that?
You know what? A lot of that happens organically, but like you mentioned, everything was new, I think, except for Dog, the equipment manager. Everyone was new. And so I think it was trying to figure out, as a staff anyways, trying to figure out roles, trying to figure out the pregame, postgame, the video sessions, how everything's going to work. Same with the players, getting to know each other. You get this group thrown together on a Monday and you play Friday. Here's your home opener. Let's be ready to go, guys. And typically training camps are a lot longer than that. I know in Toledo it's 10, 12 days, and you can actually start to build that team quick, where at the American League level in Detroit, they're at camp together. They're broken up into 2 or 3 teams. And then all of a sudden, here you go, which is practice in Grand Rapids on a Monday and game one's Friday. So it's a short amount of time for a lot of new people. And I thought our guys they dug in, they did well. You could see, some of the bad play early on. Let's call a spade a spade. It was very inconsistent, and something I wasn't used to. I think some things a lot of the players weren't used to. And so I think the 4 games before Christmas against Texas, I know the results weren't there. I get that. But we did. I could see us starting to play more consistently in the areas we need to get better at. Defensively, for sure. Our special teams weren't great in those 4, but our 5-on-5 play elevated. And after Christmas, can I sit here and say we're going to go on a 5-game winning streak and head into the new year on a high? No. But I liked what I saw before Christmas and just asked the guys to continue building off those 4 games. Even though results weren't there, if we continually put in the work, compete as hard as we did, and follow systems, play within our structure, I think good things will happen. And the guys bought in. And I give them all the credit in the world for sticking with it. It could have gone 2 ways. It could have completely gone south and continued to spiral downhill, or the guys, like they did, went to work, became a group, became a team. And, we went on a nice little run there.
Yeah. And, a follow-up question that I had for, all of those things with the way the team was at that point in time was just, how did you keep the guys on track there? Instead of, like you said, it could have gone south, but like, how did you keep the guys going and keep that mentality positive, especially with such a young roster?
Well, I just think through preparation, daily preparation, keeping their minds focused on what's ahead of us, what's on task, not looking too far ahead, or, we've got this opponent coming up. We've got Texas again. We've got Milwaukee, all these good teams, really good teams, and just want to focus on, okay, we've got Chicago tonight. We've got Rockford the next night, all division opponents right after Christmas. And if you're going to make any noise and try to make playoffs, you have to be good in your division. And you've got to be good at home. And so those are the 2 things we stressed right after Christmas was, here's the opponents, here's our road and home dates. Let's make sure we take care of the home dates. Let's try and be better on the road. As you guys remember, I don't think we said we were 1-9 or 2-10, something like that, crazy off the start. So obviously to be great at home and beat those types of teams, the focus is small. It's not so drawn out. And you're not looking at next month or next weekend. You're just worrying about that day.
Yeah, makes sense.
Well, what was the adjustment like to a new city after leaving Toledo? I'm sure you had, a very comfortable situation, a daily routine. How did the move affect that? And what was that move like?
Well, the biggest part was, I didn't bring my wife and kids with me. I was in downtown Grand Rapids by myself, and spent a lot of time at the rink with assistant coaches, and two coaches also didn't have their wife and significant other with them. So it is one of those things that we kind of stuck together in that regards, and make sure that we were focused on what we had to do. And then you have to make time for the family, though. And I think that was the biggest adjustment. Thank goodness for technology now and FaceTime and Live Barn and people live streaming games for me so I can watch and keep tabs on what's going on back home. But that was by far the biggest adjustment. It was family life. And as for everybody, kudos to my wife who kept everything intact here at home. And my oldest daughter, Kenzie, the amount of help she provided us. With my 2 younger kids, Eiley and Max, are 10 and 8. So, that was the biggest adjustment. But let's talk about Grand Rapids. Phenomenal city. It really is. The downtown area, the weekends are buzzing all the time, no matter what. There's a lot of events going on. You've got the gold games. You got the volleyball games going on. It's a great city to live in. If you say that you're bored, if you say there's nothing to do, that's on you, because there's always something to do in that city. So I was pleasantly surprised, not shocked, but pleasantly surprised with how good and how great Grand Rapids, the city, is.
With that being said, so your family's still in Cleveland. We talked to Amadeus, and his brother is coming over to Flint to play for the Firebirds, and his family's still in Ontario or in Canada. Were you able to use, because you went through that adjustment without your family this year, were you able to use that with some of the the international players and Amadeus to help relate, or was any of that come up throughout the season?
Yeah, no, I think some guys like these young guys and they've got a big challenge ahead of them to start their pro career. A lot of them, whether it's NCAA, whether it's major junior, wherever they're coming from, some of these guys live with billets the 4 years in junior. So yes, they moved away from their home, but they're moving into another family atmosphere. People are still helping them probably with their laundry, their cooking. Now you're thrown out in a new city on your own. You've got paychecks coming in. What do you do with those? Where do those go? How do I cook a meal? How do I clean an apartment? Who am I going to live with? By myself? With the teammate? What teammate? There's a lot thrown at them. And so, you try to share those experiences with them. We went through it with Sebastian Costa last year in Toledo a little bit. And so I think he was able to help some of these younger guys this year make that turn to becoming a pro hockey player. So I can share as much as I can, but the guys have been living it right away. These young players and young pros can help out the other young pros coming in. It's a big challenge. They got a lot going on at the rink. They got a lot going on off the ice. And once they get everything figured out, I think you see the growth in the players dramatically change halfway through the year.
Yeah, it's an adjustment I can't even fathom. I mean, obviously I'm an adult now, but like at the same time, it's crazy. One of the things that blew my mind when I first, started to get exposed to Toledo, a lot thanks to Travis here and his help down there. He's from Toledo. So with that, like how much roster management you as a head coach have at that level compared to what it is up here. Can you just kind of go through like what the difference is for you and kind of what that felt like for you this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's the roster. It's a challenge for sure. I think we had a deep team this past year. You could see the guys that were sitting out. They probably all deserve to play and play every game. So that was tough. There were some tough conversations held within that coach's locker room. But with that said, everyone was a pro. Everyone treated it well. And we want to make sure guys developed. And, so we saw some young guys get some ice time and be thrown in different situations. Some older guys probably take a step back from their previous roles. But it worked. We were winning games. The younger guys were getting better. And that's the next wave of Red Wings. You can't forget that. The AHL is a developmental league. And so if you can develop these young kids, get them better and do it while you're winning, it's a great environment. And so, yes, there were some tough decisions, tough conversations. But that's part of being a head coach. You just have to do it. We did it in Toledo. I mean, my last season there, we went to the playoffs. Four veterans did not make the playoff roster, and that's the business side of it. It's not great in the personal side of it as you try to build personal relationships with these guys, but that is the business side of it that you have to kind of separate as much as you can.
Do you still have as much like control of the roster in Grand Rapids as you would in Toledo per se when it comes to the limited out basis?
No, it's different. I was the general manager basically of the roster. And I handpicked everybody, recruited everybody, put my own roster together, and it's completely different at this level. You've got Steve Eiserman and Sean Horkoff, and those guys put rosters together for us. Yes, we talk about players. There's no question about it, but they put guys where they feel they fit, and they've done a really good job. And like I said, we were really deep last year. I like the makeup of our group so far this year. I'm excited about this season and what's been put together. And so it's kind of in their hands, and then. Like I said, we get a little bit of feedback from our perspective of it as a coaching staff, and we go from there.
There's some very exciting pieces added for this year. It's crazy.
Yeah. Do you like that be a little bit more hands off on the roster construction, or do you like going through what you did with Toledo and like creating the roster and getting all of that, like getting all the players?
I think there's good and bad to it both. As long as the biggest thing is lines of communication. Especially with Sean and myself, making sure that we both understand and feel what we need. And then he goes out and picks the best and finds the best available players that fit everything that we require and want. Good people, number one, with high character, high work ethic and compete levels. Whether we need some skill, whether we need some size, some physicality, we'll try and go find that. And he does a really good job of that. In Toledo, it was because we lost a lot of guys to whether it was the American League or Europe, it was building a whole new roster every single year. And that was fun, just trying to put the puzzle pieces together and who's going to fit. And, you start to make a lot of new connections and a lot of new relationships by doing that, whether it's with agents, with other coaches, with players. So I probably missed that part of it because you are talking to a lot of people. And now it's, you're not the phone. It's a silent phone unless someone needs to talk to you right now. So those are the biggest differences. I was talking to someone today and just said it's been a quiet summer with my phone. I'm actually, I am enjoying it right now, to be honest with you. I do enjoy this part. It was, 15 years or 14 years of grinding and recruiting and, it was fun. But I am enjoying this summer, just having a quiet phone.
Hey, we can call you at any time if you want.
That's right. Hey, just give me a list of players and hey, what do you think about this guy? I get it.
We can have you on every week if you want.
There we go. You guys are running out of things to talk about for sure.
Oh no.
Yeah, so like you said, every year there's like almost a new roster when you were with Toledo. What's that recruiting process kind of like? Are you constantly watching like film or games of possible players? Like obviously you don't have the scouts that you do at like at the NHL level or the American League level. Like just where do you kind of find the players? Like how do they get on your radar?
A lot of different ways. A lot of cold calls to coaches you might not know, whether it's a junior or college or the college route. Yes, you're watching video, and this process starts back in January. You're starting to identify seniors at the NCAA level. You start identifying overagers at the junior level. That might be. You're starting to look at American League free agents who are on two-way contracts that are in the ECHL. You start gaining that list and start trying to connect dots, trying to find out who their agents are. And then once you start making contact with them, that's when the real work comes. You're trying to find out again about their character. Are they good people inside the locker room? Do they treat their equipment managers the right way? Do they treat their medical staff the right way? A lot goes into it, and but you're on top of it all the time. I can't tell you how many sheets of paper and books I have of names and agents' names and the times I've talked to them and what we talked about. It's definitely a process, but it starts, like I said, it starts in January, right in the new year. You start identifying these types of players.
Is that for the ECHL or the AHL, Dan?
That'd be ECHL. ECHL. Okay. Yeah. I mean, Detroit has their pro scouts. I mean, they're on it right from day one of the season. And so they have all of their reports from everybody they've seen. So they're relied on and counted on heavily to make sure those are accurate and who they like and why they like them. So that part's a process I haven't been a part of. But I know it's a lot of work to go through all NHL teams plus American League teams and know every single player.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to make sure because I know we added Hunter Johannes at the very end, and then we've also added Gabriel Singer in this offseason. So I didn't know if you guys had reached back that far back in January of scouting him, but it sounds like it's been before that.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, those guys are school guys. I bet you they have notes on them from the minute they stepped into a college. Game one of their college career, there's probably notes on them. So, these are guys that are being tracked and followed, and especially once they hit their senior season, now it's game on, and we're trying to get as many eyes on them as possible if we like them.
You've been asked this a lot between you and Malone's relationship with the Red Wings. I want to go the other side though. I want to know your relationship with Pat Mickish this season. Like how you guys talking every weekend? Or are you guys talking every day? Like how is that communication has been throughout the season?
Yeah, it's once, twice a week, whether it's through text message or actually talking. Obviously we had some guys down there, a couple of goaltenders, some forwards, just checking in, making sure their progress is going well. If we need to call up who's the guy right now, and again, I'm close to Toledo. I still want them to win. I'll be the first person down there when they win it. I'll be the first guy down there ready to celebrate with them, and still have a lot of passion for the Walleye. And so when Pat was hired, he's a great communicator. He's a great relationship builder. So I knew it was going to be an easy year in terms of the communication side of it, just picking up the phone and picking his brain. And obviously with the two assistants down there too, Brent Bain, Alden Hirschfeld, I had them on staff for multiple years. It's a close-knit group. And yeah, we talk quite often. And, even right now, I think I've talked to Pat, for the last 4 or 5 straight days, as well as Brent and Alden, just they're trying to put a team together. And what did you guys think about this guy in the American League and just bouncing ideas off each other? It's a great relationship. I'm happy that I'm still within, the Toledo, Grand Rapids, Detroit system. I'm very fortunate, very lucky. Pat's a great coach, great guy. And yeah, he's easy to talk to.
I like the Pat Mickish hire down there too. I know there was a lot of question marks. People were like, who is this guy when he got here? And he's proved everybody wrong. And he's such a good coach down there. So I love the move. And I like that the communication up and down the organization exists. It makes as a fan, it makes me feel better.
Yeah, and it does. They did a great job in the hiring process. I was part of it. It's lengthy. It's not short. It's very thorough. And Pat did a great job. He stood out, and there's a couple other guys that certainly stood out too. But Pat, at the end of the day, was the best fit for Toledo, the best fit for Grand Rapids, and developing any player that's down there. And so, yeah, he got the job, and I think he did an unbelievable job for year one.
Did you imagine walking into his shoes, like after what you accomplished, and obviously Derek before you, he's walking in, it's probably like, oh my God.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, a lot of the team was built already, believe it or not. So he had to put the final pieces in place, and he did a great job with that. But throughout the interview process, and he and Derek are very close too. Pat was his assistant coach in Green Bay for a number of years. It was just seamless, I think, for him. The way that he wanted to play, the way that we played in the past, the way that Derek wants to play in Detroit, it was very seamless. And so I think he got comfortable right away, and Brent and Alden were able to help him understand the pro side of the game and all the nuances of the ECHL. But all the feedback from the players that I've talked to and remain close with, and staff there, very likable guy, players coach once again, but is demanding. But I thought he did an unreal job this year for year one.
Now, you're loved by the Toledo fan base, obviously. I mean, winningest head coach in Toledo Walleye history. And it's a fan base that's embraced us and basically given us a second home, between Nick and myself being from Grand Rapids. Just want to take a moment, kind of reflect on your time there, just like the best memory you had down there in Toledo from when you were the head coach.
Yeah, I think, obviously, I think winning that first Western Conference final in Tulsa, Game 7, was probably just one of those things. We weren't able to ever break through that round, and then we were able to do that. I think that was probably one of the biggest highlights of my coaching career down there, especially the team we had. It was a close-knit group. We had some guys that were there for 4 and 5 years. It started with Derek in 2014-15, and all of a sudden it's 18-19, and they're the leaders now. They were the young guys coming in. Just to see that growth and that transition from these guys, it was unbelievable. And I think hosting the All-Star game, it was a special time. It was a big year as well. Toledo pulled that off. And then the Winterfest games. I mean, those outdoor games at Fifth Third Field, unbelievable. Again, and then just all the relationships and people you meet and build. Our front office there, it was second to none. A lot of good people. A lot of people have worked extremely hard behind the scenes, and then just getting the ability to work with Joe Napoli, Neil Newcomb, two guys I have a ton of respect for in their leadership. I don't want to leave them out. Just, it was a phenomenal 14 years. And I think it set me up to be ready for this next job, this next chapter of my coaching career, and, give them all the credit in the world for helping me do that.
We got to bring one of those outdoor games to Grand Rapids. We need one up here.
Oh, it's amazing. It really, all the things that go into it, and it's not just the ice up for 24, 40 hours. You play your game, it's gone. I mean, they had kids' youth tournaments. They had some NCAA games on there. The Red Wings alumni played the Toledo alumni, which is a lot of fun. So there's a lot of things to do with it. And they made it kind of that Winterfest of a 14-day event. And, again, it's an opportunity for the city to rally around that. I'd love for GR to bring that. It would be an unbelievable event. Let's get this going. Let's get some life behind this. Let's start pumping this out, and let's get an outdoor game in GR.
It was quite a scene to be at. I was at both. I went to one the first time, and then both of them the second time, and it was just. It's like I played youth as a kid, and it's like, man, this is like going out on the pond. This is so cool.
That's exactly it. It's just nostalgic feeling. And then the one game on New Year's Eve, I mean, the fireworks afterwards, all the stuff that they did it to perfection. They won't say that. The front office won't say that. They're going to make it better the next time they do one. But they did an unbelievable job. And like you said, it was sort of that, growing up skating on a pond with your buddies type of a feeling, and that's what you want in those types of games.
So bringing it back indoors, you played at the sports arena. What was that?
I see your Storm jerseys hanging up there. I appreciate those.
You're welcome. What was I know what it was like, but I've tried to explain to Brandon and Nick what that place was like. What was that building like? And then when you walked into the Huntington Center for the first time, your initial reaction to that building?
Well, you know what? Going back to the old Storm Barn, 1 Main Street, listen, you walk in there, you knew exactly. I walked in there in the summertime. I'm like, okay, this fits my game perfectly. Number one. But also they still had the really short glass down the walls. So when you score a goal, the fans hang over the glass. You go down the bench, the high fives, and then the fans all the way down to the corner. It's unbelievable.
That's awesome.
You'd be sitting right beside somebody. I mean, the benches were right beside the fans. So you're sitting there as the extra D or a defenseman just comes in the door. You're sitting down. There's a guy right next to you, and they're talking. You have to walk downstairs to get to the ice surface. It's just such a unique place, and the fans like they still are now, very passionate about the game. Like I mentioned, it fit my game well. The flick it over the glass was not a penalty. So anytime I got in trouble, boom, puck in the glass, get me off the ice as fast as I possibly can. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. Obviously, I liked it enough to stick around Toledo for a lot of years afterwards. And thanks to Nick Vitucci for that. And then, like you mentioned, walking to the Huntington Center. I mean, night number 1, it's sold out building. And now you see, you've got the ribbon boards, you've got the big board at one end. It's new. And it still feels brand new when you walk in there and to watch a game. So they've done a good job with keeping that place looking fresh and new. And it's the best spot in the ECHL and one of the best to watch a minor league hockey game. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I've told these guys there have been some moments in that building that like equal NHL level loudness.
I would agree. I can't speak on it because I never played in the NHL, but you ask guys like Steven Alexi, TJ Henzik, guys that did play in the NHL, if they're saying it and then the places they played, you got to believe them. And they said it's, in terms of minor league hockey, it's the best place to play in the ECHL, and the fans are the reason why.
Yeah, we love that place. It's a special place. Now, Travis told us back in Toledo, you were very big on protecting home ice with your team. And then in Grand Rapids, we felt like you put that same practice into place. You guys were a dominant home team. Where do you start when you're building that mentality when you come in?
Well, it starts right in training camp. It's a message, it's in Toledo. I feel Grand Rapids is very similar. You have a family that's coming to watch a hockey game. It's not cheap. They're spending well-earned money to come watch us play hockey. Let's put on a show for them. Let's be very good at home. Let's get them rallying behind us. I want the fans to feel like they're part of it. And I've seen teams, they've had good teams, but the fans just really aren't engaged into the game. They aren't engaged with the team. That's why I'm big on getting our guys out in the community as well. We want the fans to feel like they are a part of this because, you can create that seventh man atmosphere, that seventh man energy that Toledo has, that Grand Rapids has had. I've seen it and been a part of it in playoff runs. And that's what we try to manufacture during training camp is let's make, Grand Rapids a special place here at home. Let's make sure we take care of Van Andel. Let's put on a good show. Let's play the game the right way. Let's compete. Let's work, and let's send these fans home happy so they want to come back again. And that's the biggest message. And if you want to be good in the American League level, any level in hockey, you've got to win at home because every team wants to do that. So the road is so tough. And so I really think that if you have that message, again, it's about your division for me. You play so many games within your division. Take care of that. Take care of home ice. You set yourself up for hopefully playoff hockey.
One thing that you were asked before about building culture and team, one thing that you did before the season started was you sat down with your staff, Brian Lashoff, Steph Julian, and Rupe Koistinen, and you wanted to know how they saw the game. So I want to know, how do you guys see the game? Do you guys all see it differently? Are you guys, I know with you and Lash, you guys both play defense, so you guys are probably more defensive minded, but I'm sure there's still nuances between the two of you there.
Yeah, you know what? It was during the hiring process. Just wanted, especially Steph. I didn't know Steph at all. I knew Lash from being around, I guess you would say, and he spent a weekend in Toledo. Let's put it that way. So I knew him from there, and then just being around at training camps and being around Grand Rapids when I was a coach in Toledo, I'd come and watch games and see him afterwards. So I knew what he was about, but. With Steph, he was a defenseman as well, but an offensive-minded D-man. And so just want to see how he thought the game. Watch the video and just, ask them to show me video and stop and start and tell me what they like, what they don't like about certain clips. Especially that rookie tournament last year where you're able to go back to the house we had and watch the video. And what do you like about this? What don't you like about that? And then we just found our roles. Obviously, Brian's got the PK, got a lot of defensive tasks, line rushes, working with the D specifically. Steph has a power play. Steph has the forwards. Now we're all part of it. This isn't solely on Steph, solely on Lash. I'm the 5-on-5 guy. We do this. It's by committee, 100% by committee. We want feedback from everybody to make this work. It was awesome to see. We do see the game very similar, but there are a little bit of difference, and that's what we need because we want to keep it fresh. We want to learn from each other. I want to learn from Brian Lashoff. I want to learn from Steph. I want to learn from Rope Koisten and how he sees the game as the goaltending coach, maybe how the goalies see the game. And then Eric Youngie, we call him Jimmy. He's our video coach. He's got a lot of knowledge, and he's the guy that puts everything together for us. So I don't want to leave his name out for sure, because he's a huge and integral part of, we say he's a glue guy. He keeps us all on the same page and keeps us rolling along. So there's 5 of us. It's a tight-knit coaching office. I love going to work every day with these guys. And it's fun because, again, we challenge each other and try to make each other better.
Love that so much. That's so good.
It's fun.
That's the one thing that we really like about hockey. Like just doing this podcast for the last 2 years is we've been able to see a lot of people in the hockey community just see it differently. And that's why I was that question really gravitated towards me of how do you see it? What's the differences and the things how do you see the game? Because me and Brandon see it different than what Travis sees it too. So,
and as you guys can tell, I'm probably more defensive minded. But I don't ever want to handcuff the offensive guys. I don't ever want them to lose their offensive instincts and the way they think the game offensively. Just all I ask is do it within structure, because then it looks a lot of one-on-one hockey. That's when a lot of turnovers happen, a lot of mistakes happen. Just do it within the structure, but don't lose the offensive mind that these guys have. They have way more skill than I ever had as a hockey player. And they think the game differently than I ever did. So I don't want to handcuff them on that. But my biggest thing is do it within structure. And there's the right way to play. As every coach will say, we want to play the right way. And to every coach that's different. But to me, it's making sure that we're responsible with the puck. There's a lot of communication going on the ice. Everyone should know we want to be predictable. And I think that's the key to success. And so we try to make sure we instill that with our players. But I probably do have a little more defensive minded game. Just look at my stats. I think I might have scored 5 goals a season or less, probably the last 4, maybe average 4, 3, somewhere in that. So I don't like pucks going internet at all. If we win every game 2-1, 1-0, 3-2, I'd be happy with that. But I'm comfortable with that. But again, I do like seeing guys score goals because it, creates a lot of confidence in our players.
It's funny that you say that too, because we talked to Brandon Hawkins a couple weeks ago, and he said the same thing. That's what he loved playing with you or playing for you, is just that you didn't handcuff him. It was just stay in the structure, be able to go out and here's your long leash and go out and score goals. So
I can't tell Brandon Hawkins to not shoot pucks from the goal line when he's wringing them off goalies' ears and putting them in the back of the net. How as a coach do I say stop doing that when that's his job? That's what he does. He does it extremely well. But obviously he's a special player for sure, and I appreciate those words. But yeah, that's my thing with the offensive guys who have a ton of skill. Maybe they work on their defensive game. I don't want to handcuff them. Let them go play. Let them go play hockey, but stick with them what we want to do as a team.
Yeah, speaking of Hawkins, we'll probably have him on again here pretty soon before the season starts. He came on right before playoffs for the Walleye last year. But what's your favorite story about Hawkins? A funny story or a memory, something kind of just about Hawkins?
Well, Hawks Hawk's a funny guy. He's fun to be around. Everything's light. He's a light guy in the locker room, keeps it light and comical. He does a great Bubbles impression from Trailer Park Boys. So he used to read the starting lineup at times. You may want to ask him to do that one. But those are the things. There's probably too many of them, or things that just happen every day with him. Again, he loves the game. He's a rink rat. He doesn't ever want to leave the arena. He's on the ice before practice, after practice. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that probably has that leeway to get off the ice early, but the reason why he's so good is he doesn't. And I think that's probably the biggest thing I appreciate about him is he does love the game, and he brings that passion and love to the game to all the players. And I think it bleeds into the locker room, bleeds out onto the ice, but ask him to do Bubbles. Trailer Park Boys. Phenomenal.
It's 100% happening now.
Yeah.
Next time we see him. Oh my gosh. Now, another guy you spent the last 2 years around, obviously, Sebastian Kosa. Can you just talk about his growth and development from the time from Toledo to Grand Rapids, and what do you think's been the biggest reason for his consistent improvement?
Well, I think the biggest reason, I'll start with that, is just his maturity. Getting him at 20 years old, and I think, again, we talked earlier about the off-ice situations of finding an apartment, girlfriend coming to live with you. How do I cook my own meals? Where do I go grocery shopping? All those kinds of things happen all at once when you get into pro hockey, and you're thrown into a new environment, a new culture, new coaches, new teammates. That was hard for him off the start, but his work ethic on the ice remained consistent, extremely high. I think he's become even more detailed on the ice, which obviously has proven to give him great results. I think this past season, the growth that he took from the beginning of the year to the end of the year is just sticking with his routine. What works for him to have success. Sometimes he'd go off of it early on and realize, wait a second, I stopped doing this. I go back to doing this. And Rope was with him every step of the way. They did a lot of things together. But then it became Sebastian coming to the office every day. Hey, Rope, you ready to go do this? So then he started taking it upon himself. And I think that's just maturity. It's just growing up. I'm glad the Red Wings have had the patience with him, because I do see a very good goaltender emerging, and I hope he's able to take that next step again. And now it's getting stronger. He's a guy 6'7" or whatever he is now. He continues to grow. Now it's just getting strength again. It's working out the right way. It's eating the right way. It's making sure that he's doing everything in his power to become an NHL goalie. It's right there in his hands. And, I was real excited and happy to see the work ethic every day that he put in off the ice, in the gym, and on the ice. And that leads to success. There's no secret. No, just you got to put the work in. You got to be committed and dedicated to it.
Was having him paired up with a guy like Michael Hutchinson super important as well for his growth and development over this past year?
Yeah, I do. I think that having a guy like Lethman his first year, who's kind of been through the rigors of an ECHL season, and now you get a guy like Michael Hutchinson who's been in the NHL, he's been in the American League and played at really high levels himself as a goaltender. If you look back at his numbers, some of his playoff performances and regular season performances. So I think he's been through a lot and can share those experiences of how to get through it, how to mentally get through it more than physically. I think those are really important for young players, and it's no different than us surrounding our young guys with great veterans or guys with experience. It's no different. They're going to share their experiences of what they went through. Hutch was able to do that with Sebastian this past year. Leth was able to do that with Sebastian the year before. And I think that certainly helps his mindset and his mental growth that all players need to go through when they're young.
Yeah.
I said to these guys, I came up for one game this year, and he played the game I was at, and I was like, oh my God, this is a kid that you can see is taking a step. I said to Brandon, I was like, oh my God, he's so just calm, way calmer than it seemed at points last year, but just, you can see the raw skill.
Yeah, you can see he's, he's becoming more technical in the goaltender position. And the confidence, when you're playing well, you've got confidence, whether you're a player or goaltender. And when you're challenging and competing in the crease and not allowing guys to stand in there or guys to get around there, that's when he's at his best. And we play a lot of teams, and hockey's no different. A lot of pucks and people at the net. That's sort of the terminology right now. And there's a lot of traffic going there, and that's where all the goals are scored. And when you see him on a nightly basis, daily basis, not nightly, practice habits are fantastic with this kid. And when you see that on a daily basis, there's something special inside, and his practice habits lead to his game habits, lead to that confidence. And, I think we saw a really good goaltender, and that's why he started every game in the playoffs for us. And it was an easy decision to throw him right in there, and he's playing good down the stretch. So, he did really, really well for us, and let's hope he continues to grow that way.
Yeah, Amadeus mentioned that he was pretty loose and silly throughout the season, which is pretty good to see for a goaltender, young goaltender going through the first season. Do you have any funny stories about him? Anything that, from your time in Toledo or in Grand Rapids?
No, not so much funny. I just, he's a quirky guy, as most goalies are, but he is, you get these goalies that are really serious, like, don't talk to me on game day, leave me alone. I've got my own routines, and we've been through some of those goalies in Toledo in the past. He's not. He'll talk to anybody 5 minutes before the game. He's dialed in, but he'll still have a conversation, still try to get the guys up. And I think that's one thing the guys like about in the locker room. He is who he is. He doesn't change that. But he's there for the guys, and the guys know it. And he's not afraid to let them know if a bad goal goes in, he'll own it. Or if he has a good performance, he's going to let the guys know he had a good performance. And there's nothing wrong with that if you do it the right way. And he does it the right way. So just a fun guy to be around. Lombo's not wrong. He does keep the locker room light, and that's something I think the guys love about him.
Another guy I want to bring up, because he was a guy that kind of came into the Griffins he came into the Red Wings last year right off the bat and scored a goal in his first game. Then ends up coming down to Grand Rapids and didn't really seem to find his footing. And that's Elmer Soderblom. And then this season, I thought after the halfway point of the season, I started to see a brand new kid develop in front of us, and his development, he took a whole nother step this season, I felt like.
Yeah, he did. And I felt the same way. It was a slow start for him. Then he picked it up, and there's probably a good three weeks, a month where he looked like one of our top forwards, if not one of our best forwards. He's being physical in the right areas. He was shooting pucks. He was getting to net fronts. He was defending extremely well. He was skating really well. Then he got sick, and he just could not fight this illness he had for an entire month. And that set him back again. He just didn't have the strength and the energy for whatever it was. It just drained him, and he couldn't find that at the end of the season. But for that month and a half, 2 months, he put in a ton of work. He's a guy who cares about his career, wants to get better, wants to I don't want to say prove people wrong, but obviously being NHL, coming back to the American League, now you want to get that traction to go back up again. He was right there. And so I see him playing a huge part this year. I hope he has a really good summer. Training wise, getting stronger. As crazy as that sounds, a 6'9" guy who's 250 pounds gets stronger. He could be a beast anywhere he plays. And my hope is he comes in and he does a really good job at main camp and puts his best foot forward.
Yeah, we saw a little bit different style of him. I think a lot of people were kind of seeing like the deeks and the silky gloves, and then he was just out there just plowing people over near the end of the season. So I don't know if that was part of the game plan for him or just a style for him.
I think it's got to be part of his identity. Big guys, in my opinion, are sometimes easier to check in terms of the stick detail and body positioning. So, again, he can be physical on the forecheck at the right times. We don't want him running around. That's not who he is. That's not what he should be. But he just needs to learn how to use his body more consistently in the right areas, and he did that for us. He's a smart guy, and he watches a ton of video. Like I said, he cares about his career and his development, and he's going to do whatever it takes to try to get back to where he was for year one up in Detroit. And if he's with us, he's going to be a huge part of what we do this coming season. If he makes the Red Wings, again, no pun intended, he'll be a huge part of what they try and do.
Yeah, I agree.
Is there one sneaky player that we should be keeping an eye on this year that's looking to probably take that next step? That wouldn't be like Marco or Sebastian or Carter Mazer. Somebody that you see this year.
Yeah, two guys come to mind. They're both defensemen, Wallander and Tuomisto. Again, not flashy players by any means, but two guys, I thought they took a step in the playoffs. I thought the intensity that they brought to the game, especially Wallander, He's probably one of our best defensemen in terms of shutting plays down. He's got a great stick. He's very smart, underrated shot, which he probably needs to use more. He'll be put in more situations like that this season. I loved his game down the stretch, and a guy that we could trust and play at any moment, any time. And then with Antti, here's a guy we didn't know where he was going to end up at the start of the year. You know, he got hurt right away. We sent him to Toledo to play, I think it was 6 games, just to get his footing back, just to get back playing hockey. And we inserted him in the lineup. He was really hard to take out. You know, he moves a puck extremely well. He's very good positionally. Again, another guy who uses a stick great defensively. Love to see him be a little bit more physical in terms in the right areas. But these two guys should take the next step and be, you know, a crucial part of our top 4 moving forward this season.
I think we can all agree we love those answers because Vollander is one of my favorites, and then Tuomisto is one of Brandon's. So we're going to be excited for that.
Yeah, good.
Now, a guy that's been for the Griffins his whole pro career, Dom Shine. Just how underrated and underappreciated is this guy at a fan level? Because like what he brings to the table from our perspective is just mind blowing every single night.
Yeah, I think, you know, I've known him obviously being around again, and when I first got there this year, I was like, okay, 4th line guy, you're going to create some energy. But then you start watching him in practice, you start watching him in games, some of the plays he can make, how responsible he is. You're like, this guy can play up the lineup. And he was playing on our second line at times. I think he had his best offensive numbers this year in his entire career. And I just, you know what, he's so valuable because he is versatile. You know, he can play center. We didn't need him to play center a lot this year, but he can play center. He can play both wings. He can be on a power play if needed. He's one of our top penalty killers, you know, over the boards every single time, first kill. And then what he brings in the locker room too, he plays with that emotion. He's got that love and desire for the Griffins and for Grand Rapids hockey in the city. And you need that. You need that to win. You need that to show the young guys. It's not always, you know, when you're sitting in that Griffins locker room, there's guys that have their brain on Detroit, and they should, you know, that's what they want to get to. But they have to stay in the moment too. They've got to play where their feet are at and love where you're playing. And Dom brings that every day for us. And, you know, again, he's an emotional guy. He plays with that emotion. He did a really good job this year of not crossing the line. He's an honest player, well respected within the league. Every coach I talk to, he's extremely respected. And we need those players. We need Dom Shine in our locker room, in our lineup to have success.
Yeah, and I loved his offensive production this year. I knew it was part of his game, but I think he took it to a whole new level this year. And like you said, you came in thinking 4th line guy and realized he could play up the lineup. And I just appreciate his utilization in that this year. And you got in the coaching staff putting him in that position to show what he could do, because it was impressive and it was a lot of fun. Like you said, he brought that energy for the fans.
Yeah, he is. He's a special guy. I know the fans love him. Obviously been around, a fan favorite for sure. But I think he was second in our team in 5-on-5 points behind Berge. You know, and that's a credit to him. He plays hard minutes. You know, if you look at his power play time, he probably played less than 20 minutes of power play time all season long. So he got all the PK and all the tough assignments 5-on-5. He still produced. So special player for us, and excited to have him back.
Penalty killing machine.
That's right. That's right.
So last year when you were with Toledo, you guys went on that crazy win streak. And then you come to Grand Rapids this year, you guys go on a crazy point streak. Were you able to use anything that you had learned going through that streak with Toledo when you transitioned over to Grand Rapids?
Yeah, don't talk about it. You know, just let things happen as they happen, to be honest with you. I remember in Toledo, it was game 13 or 14. It was the first time the streak was actually mentioned. And it was just simple line. It was just, hey guys, you know, 14 is better than 13. I didn't say it. One of the players said it. And that kind of became the running joke as you go along. And even this point streak, it wasn't really about getting points the next game. It was let's show up and get better off what we just did the night before or the game before. Let's get better this week in practice and continue this, because we could, you can see yourself climbing up the standings. And then I don't standings watch. I'm not crazy about it. If you take care of your own business, it's good. That will take care of itself. But I'm sure people were, and I'm sure guys were. And you start you're 2 points out of last place, the entire AHL. at Christmas time, and all of a sudden now you're creeping up. You're catching a Texas team that was, I mean, they felt like an eternity away. Like no chance we're catching that team. They are going to be gone and win this division. You start to catch them. You start to pass Rockford. You start to creep up on Milwaukee. And it's exciting for the players. I think that's the biggest and probably best term is just the excitement it brings around the locker room. Everyone's feeling confident. No matter who's in the lineup, guys know we have a chance to win. And I think that's the biggest thing is, and some of those crazy comebacks in the third period, it just breeds that confidence and excitement for our players. And we weren't in the locker room. The players weren't. I know as coaching staffs, we weren't saying, okay, we've got 13 games in a row at the point, let's go get 14. That wasn't the message. The message was, let's focus on what we have to do tonight. Let's go get the job done. And our guys were able to do it for 18 or 19 straight games. It was remarkable. It was awesome, fun to be a part of. The Milwaukee Sunday game. I mean, I know our guys were very excited and amped for that game. They want to stop their streak and continue ours. They did a great job that night, and I think that was probably one of the most fun times we had inside that locker room, was just knowing that we could beat good teams who are also playing high level hockey, and that kind of gave us confidence down the stretch.
Yeah, I was just going to add the piece, that Milwaukee game, that Sunday game. It felt like it was the most focused on pro hockey game across North America that day, and which was awesome to see. Both teams deserved that spotlight, and it was good to see us take it home. And Dog going out and flipping the net over for behind coast like Askarov would do was just the icing on the cake for me after that one.
Dog's a beauty.
He is.
He's the fire inside the locker room that we need, and another light shiner. He cares deeply about the city. Born and raised there, grew up there. He's been the equipment manager. He'll remind me this year coming up. I think it's year 27 for him. So I'll get that reminder at training camp. But I love him to death. He's an unbelievable equipment manager and friend to a lot of people. He's a relationship builder, a guy that everybody trusts. So he went out and had some fun with it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he definitely did. Now, Toledo obviously went on another crazy streak this year too. Did you and Pat have a side bet on whose streak was going to last longer?
No, I didn't even talk to him during that stretch. Actually, once he got after the regular season, I was like, "Hey, best of luck in playoffs. We'll be watching." I didn't even bring any streak up. It's one of those things. I feel like once it gets brought up, it just ends right away. There's just that pressure to keep it going. But I was watching. I was proud of the team, the returning guys that came back. Happy for Pat and the coaching staff. Happy for the front office and their leadership group. And the fans. The fans deserve a winning team there. They do, and they put another winning product on the ice. And winning, there's two different terms, and winning in Toledo is a championship. That's all there is. If you didn't win a championship, you lost the season. But as a coaching staff and organization, there's another successful year. And the run that Toledo's been on, I think there are a lot of franchises, a lot of organizations, a lot of fan bases that would take that, maybe not right now. I think if you gave the ultimatum, Travis, you'd probably help me out here. If you gave them the ultimatum to win a championship and have 5 losing seasons, they would take the championship probably right now. Let's get this out of the way. We'll deal with it for 5 years, and then let's come back strong again. But there are a lot of organizations that would take the success and the winning ways and the conference finals and the division championships. There are a lot of fans that would do that over time, and then hopefully win one. And they're knocking on the door. They'll be there. They'll be there again this year with the team they're putting together. They're going to be there again this year, and that's exciting.
Yeah, that's one thing I was always like, man, it's so hard to just win one round, let alone 4. And I think not enough people understand that. And
yeah, unless you're Florida.
Right. But I mean, the fans, it's such a crazy place, and it's just crazy every year. It's literally cup or bust.
Yeah, but as a coach and players, that's what we respect that, and we know that. Everyone knows that, but that's the pressure of it. That's why we do it. If you walked in that arena without expectations, that's not a lot of fun. When you're expected to win every game at the Huntington Center, every playoff game, and every round, I mean, that's the competition, the competitive side of it, and the pressure that's put on you in Toledo. And that's what keeps you going, though. It certainly was an enjoyable part of my career, one that I'm forever thankful for. And obviously, it set me up to be ready for this job.
Now, speaking of winning, you won the development camp 3-on-3 tournament championship there. Are you excited to go brag about that at training camp?
Well, I'm going to stay humble about it. There are a couple guys that have won in the past and got a little, they're a little vocal about it, and they haven't stepped on a bench again. So I don't know if they're scared now. I don't know what the deal is, but I love that event. It's the same format we did in Toledo with the All-Star game. They brought it here, and I think it just gives an extra view. I know the players enjoy it after all the skills and skating and everything, all the presentations they have. To finish it with that, to send them home with that good taste in their mouth of how fun it was. I love it. And you can see now, you get to see the individual skill of these players and how talented they are. But yeah, we won. Our team won. I'll brag about it a little bit here right now. We had a good team. We draft our own team. So it was, myself and another guy, we were able to draft a really good team, and came to fruition. Another championship, 3-on-3.
As we wrap up here, Dan, what can fans expect for the upcoming season for the Griffins?
A better start. Let's start right there. I think now with the group that we could potentially have in Grand Rapids, they've got an understanding of what we want as coaches. They've got an understanding of what's expected of them as teammates, as players inside that locker room. And so I really do believe we'll get off to a better start. With that said, I want a competitive team, and I think that's going to be sort of our motto this year is a work ethic. The compete level is going to be extremely high, a very structured and detailed team. But one that when the fans leave the arena, and like I mentioned this last year too, is just I want them to walk out there and be proud and say, hey, I want to go watch that team again. They just worked their tails off for themselves, for their teammates, and for us, the fans. I want to go back and watch that team again. And so that's kind of the mentality we want to instill, is just that love for the Griffins hockey, love for Grand Rapids. I want to see them bring that passion to the ice every home game.
I love that.
That I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you because I got to witness it for so long.
I appreciate that, Travis. Yeah, I'm liking everything I'm seeing behind you there. Love it. I think I wore one of those Storm racing jerseys.
Yeah, that one. It's not yours, but you wore that one.
Yeah, I've seen that one around. I love it. NASCAR night at the old Storm Arena.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for taking time out of the offseason to do this with us. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you. I know this is one that the guys and I have wanted to do for quite a long time, so it's good that we finally were able to do this. And hopefully down the road, we can do it again soon. But we wish you the best with the upcoming season, and hopefully you get to enjoy some relaxing time before training camp here and get back into things. But thank you again.
No, thanks for having me. Anytime. Let's not make it another 100 episodes. We'll get one in there. We'll sneak one in a little sooner than that. Let's do something once the season starts.
I would love that.
We're down.
Perfect. Thanks,
well, thanks, Dan. And welcome back to just the three of us. I know it's not as much fun. I'm sorry, guys. But that was fun. I had a blast getting to talk with Dan. I want to get your guys' takeaways, though, before we wrap this episode up. I'm going to go to Nick first here. Nick, what was your biggest takeaway from that interview there?
Oh, I'm glad I got to go first on this one. So usually I take the last spot. So the sneaky players for this year is two guys that we've been keeping an eye on was William Vollinder and then Antti Tuomisto. It's two of our favorite players. So it was kind of somebody that we kind of assumed would be taking bigger roles this year. And it sounds like if they have a good summer, good camp, they would be moving up in that roster or in the lineup. So I was excited to hear that from Dan, just based off the player sides.
What about you, Travis? What was your biggest takeaway there?
Really, it's kind of, I have two, but they're basically the same. His love for his new city, which is Grand Rapids. I mean, you can tell that he's happy to be there, loves the city already after just 1 year. And what a turnaround year he had. I mean, I know when he signed there, I was like, all right, I follow Grand Rapids, but now we get like another reason to follow him even more. And then obviously met you guys and this all took off, but his love for Grand Rapids and the city, and then the Toledo side, just how much he still loves and cares about the team and the city, and how much he enjoyed his time there. I mean, he spent 15 years in Toledo. I mean, that's a long time. It's basically like a home away from home. And hopefully now he's in a new home away from home with you guys up in Grand Rapids. I know you guys are in great hands. I told you guys that many times, throughout, when we first met. But just those two things, really, his love for the cities and how much it means to just put a good team on the ice wherever he is.
Yeah, no, I agree with both those takeaways. And my biggest one with that is just the consistency in his message across the year. Like when he has an idea, he sticks to it. He doesn't back off from it, but also like owning the fact that he knows this past season wasn't a good start. I mean, everyone knows that, right? But to be able to candidly talk about that, and then, he set the expectation there. What would we expect this season? A better start. And to be able to put those words out there confidently before the roster's even set, like, I just love that confidence. It gets you hyped up for the season. It gets you ready to go. And like you said, Travis, we're in good hands, and I've got a good feeling about this Griffins upcoming season. And I can't wait to start doing like the roster preview episodes as we get a little closer and kind of break that down, because there's been some exciting additions to this team that hopefully will replace a couple young kids that will get their shot in Detroit. We'll see how this all shakes out. But yeah, it was just a great interview, good chat with him, and look forward to having him back on the show in the future.
Yeah, sounds like it'll be a lot sooner than what we thought.
Yeah, means we didn't screw up. Good job, boys.
right after the start of the season, he wants to be back on, so a couple months.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I just appreciate, like he said, he wanted to get the guys out in the community more, and we definitely saw that as fans this year. The open practice for season ticket holders that we got to go to, and some other events that we didn't see in this organization in the past, and just his availability. I mean, I don't, it's a podcast. I don't want to get shout out every other podcast, but this guy does a lot of interviews and loves to talk about hockey. So just his availability and his passion for it, it's absolutely incredible. I love every aspect of that there. And I think that's going to resonate with a lot of fans for a long time. But I think with that, it's time to wrap this one up. It's a long one, but it was a special one. Episode 100 in the books. Thank you all for tuning into this one. Of course, we've got to shout out our sponsors who've been there with us to help us along the way. Everything Hockey. Make sure you head over to everythinghockey.com. Use code WEST to save a few bucks off your order. And our new sponsor, BetterHelp, and the old sponsor, DraftKings, as well. Appreciate you guys. And of course, the Hockey Podcast Network for continuing to help us grow this into what it's become today. Appreciate you guys. You're fantastic. With that, everybody have a fantastic week. We'll be back next week with another player interview for you guys. And until then, go Griffins, go Walleye.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West Podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod, and your host, Nick at GR Hockey Guy, and Brandon at Brandon GR Hockey.